I maxed my credit card for her mom's medical bills. Days later, saw a video of her sister's kids at a $12,000 birthday party. When I asked who paid, she grinned. "Your card, babe." I laughed. "My card has $150. "Did you check the name?" That's when her mom pulled out the bank envelope. I laughed when she said it. Not because it was funny. Because for one stupid second, I honestly thought I had heard her wrong. We were standing in the middle of Mercy General's third floor waiting area, under that buzzing strip light that made everybody look gray. My son Eli was next to me with a paper cup of vending machine cocoa he hadn't touched. He was 8, quiet by nature, and trying very hard to act older than 8, because hospitals make kids do that. My girlfriend's sister, Bria, was leaning against the wall in a cream coat that looked too expensive for a Tuesday afternoon. Her nails were done. Her hair was perfect. And on her phone screen, still glowing in her hand, was a video of her twins screaming with joy under a balloon arch bigger than my living room. Gold letters, a rented pony, a dessert table, a DJ. I had already heard one nurse mutter that somebody must have spent a fortune. Then Bria grinned at me and said, "Your card, babe." She said it to my girlfriend, Tessa, but looking right at me, like she wanted to see my face fall. I looked at the screen again. Kids running through white and gold decorations. Somebody had tagged a venue downtown. Somebody else had commented, "Best party ever." And right there in the caption was a joke about being spoiled by family. My son saw it too. He looked from the phone to me, then down at his cocoa cup. He didn't ask anything. That was the part that got me. He already knew enough to stay quiet when adults got ugly. I laughed once. Dry, sharp. "My card has $150 on it," I said. "Did you check the name?" That smile on Bria's face slipped. Tessa straightened up from the plastic chair she'd been half sitting in. Her mother, Denise, had been dramatic all morning about chest pain, tests, possible procedures, all the usual chaos that makes people stop thinking clearly. I had been there since 6:20 a.m. after driving overnight from Tulsa. I was still in my work jeans and boots. I smelled like road coffee and diesel and no sleep. Bria blinked. "What are you talking about?" I looked at Tessa. She looked at her sister. And that was when Denise, from her chair by the window, slowly reached into her tote bag and pulled out a bank envelope. Not a hospital envelope, not paperwork, a bank envelope, cream-colored, folded twice, my name written on it in blue ink. Alan Morris. My hands went cold because I knew that envelope. I had seen one, just like it, 2 weeks before when I handed Tessa cash to deposit for her mother's prescriptions, specialist visits, and whatever else they kept insisting insurance would not cover right away. I had given her $4,800 in cash from my emergency fund and another $2,300 from a card cash advance I should never have taken. I knew the exact numbers because I'd counted them 3 times at my kitchen table while my son colored dinosaurs beside me. And now Denise was holding that envelope like she had forgotten it existed. I stared at it, then at Tessa. Nobody said anything for a second. Eli shifted closer to my leg. That was the moment I knew it was not confusion. Not bad communication, not family being messy. It was theft with a polite face on. And my kid was standing there watching me learn it. I'm Alan. I was 39 then. I lived outside Joplin, Missouri with my son Eli. I drove long-haul routes, mostly Midwest to Texas and back. Sometimes farther if the money was worth the sleep I lost. I'd been raising Eli mostly on my own since his mother left when he was 3. No dramatic story there. She wanted a different life and took it. So it had been me, a little brick rental house, a lot of microwave dinners, and a boy who learned early how to sit in a truck cab with crayons and headphones. I wasn't stupid with money. That mattered to me. Truck drivers get treated like we're either reckless or dumb. I was neither. I kept spreadsheets. I paid my bills on time. I had a 6-month emergency fund before I ever bought a newer rig. I packed my lunch. I did my own small repairs when I could. I knew exactly what things cost because I had spent too many years not having enough. That's why what Tessa's family did didn't happen all at once. It happened because they learned I could be counted on. Tessa and I had been together just over 2 years. She worked part-time at a dental office. Warm smile, soft voice, looked tired even on good days. I loved her. That's the truth. And I liked who Eli was around her in the beginning. She brought him puzzle books, remembered that he hated mustard, sat on the floor and listened when he explained Minecraft like it was a board presentation. Her family was another story. Denise had a gift for sounding fragile while directing everybody around her, like staff. Bria always had some emergency. Dance tuition for the twins, a car repair, a deposit for a school trip, an account mix-up, something with her ex, something with her rent, something with a package that got stolen. At first it was small. Could I cover dinner when Denise forgot her card? Could I float $180 until Friday? Could I pick up groceries because Denise wasn't feeling well? Could I help with a copay because they're family, Aylin? I let it slide because that's how it always starts. Small enough that refusing makes you look mean. Then it got bigger. A refrigerator for Denise's health that somehow ended up in Bria's apartment. $600 for medical transport that was actually an SUV rental for a cousin's graduation weekend. A utility bill I paid directly because Denise said she was scared the oxygen machine would be affected if the power got shut off. I found out later she had used part of her own money that month on Bria's highlights and a weekend hotel stay for the twins near an indoor water park. Every time I caught one mismatch, there was a reason. You misunderstood. You're being harsh. It was all mixed together. We meant to tell you. And every time I started to push back, Tessa would get that tired look and say, "Please don't make me choose between you and them." So I kept telling myself it was temporary, that real illness was involved, that I was helping, not being used. The worst part was what they did with Eli. Never enough to make a scene at first, just enough to make him notice. At Denise's house, Bria's twins always had bags with their names on them at Christmas. Eli got a generic gift card slipped to him after dessert. At a summer cookout, there were matching cousin shirts. Eli got told they had run out of his size. At Denise's birthday dinner, Bria's kids got to help blow out candles. Eli stood there holding the folded card he made with a hand-drawn semi-truck on the front. Denise said, "Set it on the counter, honey," without even opening it. He never complained. That made it worse. He would just ask me things in the truck later. Do they forget me a lot? Or am I still a cousin if they don't say my name? I told myself to wait, to watch, to not drag a child through another broken adult situation. Unless I was sure. Then Denise had her heart episode. This was in March. I was on a route near Amarillo when Tessa called crying. Said Denise was in the ER. Said they might need a cardiologist. Said insurance was being difficult. Said Bria was a mess and couldn't help because of the twins and work and some overdue rent. I pulled into a rest stop and sat there with the engine idling while she talked. I asked how much they needed. She said she didn't know yet. By that evening, it was $1,500 to get started. By the next morning, it was more testing, more prescriptions, more specialist follow-up, more fear. I wired money from my business account, then transferred from savings, then used a credit card when I ran short because I didn't want to leave a woman untreated if she was genuinely in trouble. That's what I believed. When I got home, 4 days later, I skipped replacing 2 steer tires on my truck because I had to move money around first. That was how tight I got after helping them. Not broke, but stretched in a way I hate. The kind where every gas receipt starts to feel personal. I still remember Eli sitting at the kitchen table while I sorted bills. He had this little science fair flyer from school in his hand and asked if we could buy the volcano kit this year instead of making one from cardboard. I said, "Maybe next paycheck, buddy." He nodded like it was fine. That same night, Tessa texted me a photo of Denise in bed with a blanket, captioned, "Thank you for helping save my mom." I looked at that photo for a long time. Now, standing in that hospital waiting room, with the bank envelope in Denise's hand, and the video of a $12,000 birthday party still fresh on Bria's screen, I realized exactly what I had saved. Not Denise. The party, the arch, the pony, the sugar tower, the venue. I asked the question plainly. How much of the medical money went to that party? Bria started talking first. Too fast. That was her tell. It wasn't like that, okay? Mom did have appointments, and there were expenses, and things got shuffled around and shuffled, I said. Tessa finally stood up. Alan. No, I said, still quiet. Not one of you say my name like I'm overreacting. I asked a direct question. Denise pressed the envelope flatter in her lap. Bria crossed her arms. You were helping family. I nodded once. My son heard you brag about using my card for a party. It was a joke. Then explain the envelope. Tessa's face changed then. Not angry, not shocked. Cornered. That hurt more than the lying. Because she knew. Maybe not every detail. Maybe not every dollar. But enough. Eli tugged my sleeve very softly. Dad. I looked down. His cocoa cup was crushed a little in his hand. Can we go? There it was. The clear moment. The one I still think about. My kid, in a hospital waiting room, asking to leave, not because he was bored or tired, but because he could feel that he and I were the only people there behaving like human beings. And all those adults still had not apologized. I took the cup from his hand and set it on the side table. Then I said the only thing that mattered. We're going. Tessa looked stunned. My mom is still waiting on results. I looked at Denise. She sat upright, makeup done, hair set, bank envelope in her lap. She can call Bria, I said. That started the noise. Bria telling me I was cruel. Denise doing that wounded little gasp. Tessa saying, please, not here. I didn't yell. That would have let them turn me into the problem. Instead, I asked Tessa for my truck key fob back, the spare one she kept. She blinked. What? The key. And the gas card. Because, yes, there was a gas card too. I had added her as an authorized user 6 months earlier when her car was acting up, and I wanted to help. She had promised to use it for groceries and appointments only. I had believed that too, until I noticed charges near a boutique bakery downtown and a party rental place I did not recognize. She pulled the fob from her purse slowly. The gas card came next. I held out my hand and waited. When she finally gave them to me, Bria laughed like I was proving some point about being controlling. I said, no, I'm just done financing lies. Then I took Eli's backpack, put my hand on his shoulder, and walked out. That should have been the end. But people who live off your labor do not go quiet when the labor leaves. By the time I got Eli home, I had 11 missed calls. By dinner, 19. Texts from Bria first. You're embarrassing Tessa. Mom could have died today. It was not all your money. Do you really want to traumatize children over this? That one was rich because her children had a pony and a champagne-colored balloon tunnel, and my kid had stood there being taught that adults could take from him too. Tessa's messages came later, longer, and softer. She said she had meant to explain. She said some of the money really had gone to Denise's tests. She said Bria had pressured everyone because the twins' father backed out of helping with the party and deposits were non-refundable. She said Denise didn't want the twins disappointed. I sat at my kitchen table reading those texts while Eli worked on homework nearby. I thought about that sentence. Didn't want the twins disappointed. As if my son was made of plywood. As if disappointment was only real when it happened to the children they claimed. I did not answer right away. I opened my laptop. Then, I did the cleanest thing I have ever done in anger. I separated every financial thread. I removed Tessa from my gas account, canceled the authorized user card, changed the login to the emergency savings portal she had once helped me access from her phone, transferred the remaining balance from the shared care fund account into my primary savings, called the credit union and flagged the recent cash withdrawal dispute for review, paused the automatic monthly payment I had set up for Denise's prescription plan. Then I opened the note app on my phone and typed one sentence because I knew I would need to repeat it more than once. I will not fund a family that humiliates my child and lies about my money. Simple. No speech, no drama. The next morning, I called the cardiology office, whose name was on one of the receipts Tessa had sent me weeks earlier. I asked only whether Denise had been seen and whether there was an outstanding balance in her name that I had previously offered to help with. They could not tell me much, but they told me enough. The balance was nowhere near what I had been told, not even close. I sat in my truck outside a fuel stop, staring at the steering wheel. Then I laughed again. Not because it was funny, because once a lie gets measured, it shrinks fast. That afternoon, Tessa came by the house. Not inside, onto the porch. She looked tired for real this time. No makeup, hair tied back, hands shaking. Eli was in the living room building a model bridge from popsicle sticks for school. I stepped outside and pulled the screen door closed behind me. She cried first. Said she had messed up. Said she kept thinking she could smooth it over. Said Bria had convinced Denise the party had to happen because the twins had already invited their whole class and people were expecting something nice. Said some deposits got paid on my card because Tessa had the number saved from pharmacy pickups. I let her talk. Then I asked the only thing I still needed answered. When Eli was left out all those other times, did you notice? She looked at me, and that was answer enough. I noticed, she whispered. That almost took me out. Not the party, not the money, that. Because noticing and doing nothing is a colder kind of cruelty. I kept my voice level. You watched them treat my son like he was extra. Then you helped yourself to money I earned on the road to give Bria's kids a show. It wasn't for Bria, not just for her. I shook my head. Don't cut that smaller. It was exactly for her. She started crying harder. Said she loved me. Said she loved Eli. I believed she felt something. I just didn't believe it was stronger than what her family trained into her. So I gave her the sentence I had written. I will not fund a family that humiliates my child and lies about my money. She asked if this was really the end. I said, you're off my accounts, and you're not coming around Eli until I know he won't be taught to accept scraps. Her face closed up then, like I had finally spoken a language she understood. Money. Access. No. She left without yelling. That night, Denise called from a different number and left a voicemail that was almost impressive in its shamelessness. She said I was abandoning sick people. Said, real men don't count dollars when elders are suffering. Said, Eli had always seemed sensitive and maybe I was making him softer by centering him too much. I saved the voicemail, not for court, not for revenge, for clarity. Because once somebody says the ugly part out loud, you stop doubting yourself. The fallout kept going for 2 weeks. Bria posted vague quotes online about selfish men and broken promises. A cousin I barely knew messaged to say, family support should not come with conditions. Denise sent a church lady from her building to call me cold. Tessa wrote one final long message saying maybe I had never understood how family works. I wrote back exactly once. Family does not use one child to decorate and another child to pay. Then I blocked what needed blocking. The practical consequences came fast for them. Denise's prescription autopay stopped. The party balance dispute surfaced when the venue followed up on the card authorization. Bria had to sell 2 decorative rental pieces and cancel a spring photo package she had already booked for the twins. Tessa had to borrow her sister's car after I removed her from my truck fuel account, and she ran through her own cash. I did not celebrate any of that. I just noticed how quickly their emergencies became visible once my wallet stopped absorbing them. Meanwhile, my own house got quieter. That surprised me. I expected grief to be louder. Instead, it was quiet in a good way. No dramatic calls during dinner. No last-minute demands while I was on the road. No guilt hanging over every paycheck. One Saturday, about 3 weeks later, Eli and I went to the science store in Springfield. I had paid down the card enough by then to breathe again, and I bought him the volcano kit he had asked for. Not a huge thing, $29 and some tax. But he held that box all the way to the truck, like it was gold. On the drive home, he said, "Are we in trouble?" I asked. "With who?" He looked out the window. "With them." I thought about lying, giving him some clean adult phrase. Instead, I told him the truth he could carry. No, we just stopped letting people spend what belongs to us. He nodded slowly. A few miles later, he said, "I didn't like that lady saying your card." "I know. She was acting like it was funny." "I know." He picked at the corner of the box. "I don't want to go back there." I said, "You won't." And I meant it with my whole chest. A month after the hospital scene, the school held family night for the 3rd graders. Folding chairs in the cafeteria, paper artwork clipped on strings, store-brand cookies on plastic trays. Nothing fancy. Everything honest. Eli's bridge project sat on a table near the back with his name typed neatly on a white card. He kept looking over to make sure I was still there. I was. At one point, another boy's grandma came by and admired the bridge and asked Eli if his dad helped. Before he could answer, I said he designed the whole thing. I only held the glue. Eli smiled. Small, but real. Later, we took his project home and set it on the kitchen counter. He wanted to keep it just for a while. It stayed there almost 2 weeks. That was the quiet closure, I think. Not some perfect revenge moment. Not a speech. Just my son leaving his project in the middle of our kitchen because he knew nobody there would toss it aside, joke about him, or use him as the cost of somebody else's celebration. The last thing I ever got from Denise was another envelope. No cash in it. Just a folded note left in my mailbox with no stamp. She wrote that families forgive, that hearts change, that I was punishing too many people over one misunderstanding. One misunderstanding. I stood at the sink and read that line twice. Then I turned the envelope over and let Eli use the blank side for a spelling test practice list. That felt right. A useful ending for a useless message. I did learn something from all of it. Being generous is not the same as being respected. Helping people financially does not make them love you. And it definitely does not make them safe for your child. Some people will take your overtime, your credit, your sleep, your pride, and still act inconvenienced when you ask where it went. And a child notices everything. He notices which cousins get celebrated. He notices who gets full plates and who gets leftovers. He notices whether the adult who loves him will step in or keep the peace. That last part matters most. I used to think protecting Eli meant absorbing more cost, more discomfort, more insult, more patience, keep the relationship alive, keep things smooth, keep being the solid one. I was wrong. Protecting your child sometimes looks like a bank login screen, a canceled card, a key returned to your palm, a quiet ride home, a door that does not reopen. It looks boring from the outside, but to a kid, it feels like safety. These are the conclusions I carried from it. If people can smile at your child's hurt, they have already told you who they are. If money only matters when it flows one direction, that was never family. That was access. And if your child has to stand there and watch you be used, the boundary is already overdue. I did not get my money back. Not all of it. I got something better. My son stopped asking if they forgot him. And in our house, that silence meant peace.